After several months of work, I have finally found the true nature behind the pyramid ships and the darkness in Destiny. This very difficult task culminated in the creation of a 13,000 word script. The script will be partly used, but not fully for this video. If you want to read the full script, I will have that on my Storyfire channel, link will be in the description below, and the script will be turned into multiple videos that will be uploaded at the same time and should be available now at the time of you listening to this. You do not necessarily need to listen to the rest of the videos in order to understand this, but they will provide the full context, and this context will be referenced in this video. So if you want the full understanding, the other videos are recommended. In order to save time and to increase the convenience of this video, I will not be reading off pages of lore and explaining every single detail or reason behind my argument. This is for two reasons. The first reason for the lore is that I will be referencing the lore and showing it on screen, and I will have a link to each page used and also each book that the pages are in the description below. And then for some of the very minor arguments, the ones that are extremely minor and maybe wouldn't be believed by people, I'm just going to leave those in the script, and others will actually have been referenced and used in the other videos. So the main reasons and evidence behind my theory is in this video, but some of the extra details are in the other videos or in the script. I'm going to try and make this as, short as possible, but I can tell you already that it won't be short. But I just want you to know that I'm doing my best. If you don't want to hear my argument, or you don't care, you just want to know what is it that I believe or that I've found, take a look at this picture while I tell you. The pyramid ships are just ships. They're not living beings or paracausal as our ghost says they are. They are piloted by a race that were at one stage or still are human. This race of humans originated from the ancient Egyptian civilization, and this civilization was given a golden age approximately 3,000 to 5,000 years before, Destiny 1. The gardener, the being inside of the traveler, and the wielder of the light used this civilization as guinea pigs for a new type of golden age that she hoped would work against the hive. This golden age, apart from just enhancing the race's technological capabilities and perhaps lifespan, also evolved the singling out of a small handful of individuals, which would later be grown into a pantheon of the first light wielders. Each of these people, you could say, were ultimately their own class, and by the time of our collapse and the creation of the Guardians, 3 of these original light bearers were used as templates for the classes. Something happened, someone did something, this being Nezarec, that caused the Gardener to leave and abandon them. The Pantheon either fought amongst themselves or all agreed, but at the end of the day, they joined under a new leader named or inspired by the Egyptian god Apophysis, and with their followers, they left the planet to hunt down the Traveler. Their goal is to resurrect Nezarec. That is that, without any evidence, without any reasoning or any kind of backing up. If that is all you care about, that's fine. You can leave if you want. If you want to know why I'm 90% certain that this is real, we're going to get into it right now. In order to even begin this, we need to separate the pyramids from the darkness. The only thing that would maybe make you hesitant to believe this is that the world of Destiny and the characters in the world are constantly telling you that they are the darkness. However, the evidence that I have found and that the observations that I've made, I'm 100% telling you now that they are not the darkness, and I'm going to just prove it in using 2 examples right off the bat that come to mind. The first is that we know who actually is in control of the darkness energy, because at the end of the day, the light and the darkness are just energy. The one that controls the light is the Gardener, as I mentioned before, and the one that controlled the winnower, or the darkness, is the winnower. If you want the origin and the nature and motivation of the Gardener and the winnower, I will have that in a different video, and that is also going to be linked, of course, in the description below. The winnower is in control of the darkness. The winnower is an entity that has a physical and a ethereal form. I'm assuming the same goes for the gardener. We can recognize when the winnower is present because, according to the soon-to-be awoken during the collapse, when they encountered the winnower at the edge of the system, all the stars went black and gravity went crazy. And of course, even people in the lore community have already associated very clearly gravity powers with the darkness. The winnower and the pyramids are two different entities, and the ones that control the pyramids are two different entities. And we have gameplay evidence for this. The people in the pyramids and the winnower have both communicated with us. The people in the pyramid have used verbal communication through our ghosts. The winnower contacting us through the lore book Unveiling. The key thing here is the language used. The winnower only speaks to us using singular pronouns, I and me. The pyramid people only speak using plural pronouns, so us and we. I'm going to give you two examples here, and these are lines from both the winnower and the pyramid people. So the winnower would say, "My man Oryx." This is a quote from the Book of Sorrows. The pyramid people would say, "We bring only truth." Another example, the winnower would say, "She will bow to me." The pyramid people would say, "We are your salvation." This very clear distinction in terms of the language very clearly shows that they are two different entities. Another thing is that it just wouldn't make sense for the winnower to be part of this larger group, because looking at the relationship, and this will be in a different video as well, looking at the relationship between the winnower and other entities such as the hive and the worm gods, it becomes rather obvious that the winnower is a lone wolf, doesn't need help. He'll take it if you want to give it to him, but he's not going to order you around. He's not going to be part of a greater collective or anything like that. He has his own mission, his own motivations. He is above everything else except for the gardener. That's the first reason why the darkness and the pyramids are two different things. That's a very technical example. This next example is even more obvious, and, well, not obvious, but even more, I guess you could say, game-changing in terms of the lore than the previous. And that is that the pyramid ships and the winnower entered our system during the collapse at two different times. This isn't me speculating this is actually in the lore. Whoever really talks about the Traveler during the collapse, they always say that the Traveler touched Io last. Everybody says that, and it's true. We know this because I'm fairly certain that on Titan it talks about the Traveler being detected leaving from Io and going to Earth. So the assumption here is that when the collapse happened, the Traveler was on Io and then it beelined it to Earth. That is established. We also know from the vision we get from the Traveler during the time that we're lightless, right after the Red War begins in Vanilla Destiny 2, that when the Traveler is on Io, the pyramids are there. Now here's the thing. It's just kind of said, I guess you could say, that the Awoken, or before they were awoken, were the first ones to encounter the darkness at the edge of the system during the collapse. However, when this happens, in the lore book I'll have in the description below, I can't remember, I think it's Marasenna. When they encounter the winnower, all the stars go black and the gravity gets crazy, Rasputin contacts them and says that they are needed on Earth, the Traveler's on Earth, and that there is heavy gunfire or, weapon discharges going on there. So we have the winnower at the edge of the system, but the Traveler's on Earth, and everything's going to crap. We know that the Traveler was on Io, and then when the collapse happened, it beelined it to Earth, which means, without a doubt, the Traveler was on Io, the pyramids attacked it on Io, the Traveler defeated them, went to Earth, the pyramids following, and then when it was on Earth, then the winnower arrived in the system. This very clearly shows that the pyramids and the winnower were two different entities with the same target. I have other examples as well, but this is enough to prove it. If you want the other examples, they're in other videos or in the main script. So that's that. We've established that these are two different entities. Now, for my theory, what makes this so important? Whenever you see the pyramid ships, whenever you see relics, whenever you see any kind of architecture designed by the pyramids that look like the pyramids, you need to understand that these were made by the race inside of the pyramids and not the darkness. The next thing we're going to look at is breaking down what actually are the race inside the pyramids. And we're going to begin this by saying what they're not. So in the community, there are a few kind of predictions or beliefs that people have. Some are just pure speculation, some are based off of concept art pictures, others are based off of lore. 3 major ones stand out: ghosts, beasts, people. I'm going to tell you now why ghosts and beasts are not a thing. For the ghost ones, what I can say is that I'm not discrediting the possibility of this race turning themselves into ghosts as an ability, say, like projecting yourself into a different area in the form of like a spiritual entity. I'm not saying they can't do that or anything like that. I'm saying from a purely permanent state of being ghosts, they're not that. What people base this off of is this picture here I'll have there. And what disproves this is inside the pyramid ship on the moon, there are stairs, there are pots, other accessories, doors, things that ghosts wouldn't need. In this picture here, you have a city that ghosts either wouldn't be able to make or wouldn't need necessarily. It just doesn't make sense. The second thing would be the beasts. Now, you cannot deny the beasts were used during the collapse on Earth. They were. We know this from Ada 1's mother, who was a first-hand, I guess, witness to one of these beasts attacking them during the collapse. However, again, I'm going to use the exact same points for the previous one. Beasts lacking intelligence wouldn't be able to build a pyramid ship. They wouldn't really need to use stairs. And then if we go to this picture here, they certainly wouldn't need to make a city. And then a very, very simple thing is that they wouldn't make art or monuments with human faces on them. So I believe this is very clear evidence that we're dealing with a humanoid race. Now we're going to be talking about the inspiration behind this race. Again, taking this picture, this is what we're going to be focusing on. I'm just going to quickly bring it up for myself. Okay. So I'm just going to give you some background information about this picture first of all. To begin, this picture was released 2017, just before Destiny 2 came out. I believe it was released during the beta. And apart from being presumably online, it also was on the kind of slideshow that would play when you were downloading updates on the console. Most people that saw this assumed it was the Hive. Some people thought it was like Savathun and stuff like that. But very clearly, as you can see in the background, that there is a pyramid ship. And of course, later on with Shadowkeep, we again see these same statues. Now, in my other video, I have already proved why the gardener is female and why she looks like this. So if you want to check that out, or if you already know it, that's that. The next thing is that this picture actually shows an evolution of the civilization over time. If you look in the foreground, we have crude stone and metal with kind of tribal, I guess you could say, carvings in the material and architecture. And then once you go past the monuments holding up the traveler, you're looking at technology with energy, and then at the very back you have a combination of the two, being a pyramid ship. What this evolution should be a sign of is that we're not dealing with a race that has always been that strength or that kind of height in power. It was a journey. They began as something small and they have become something much greater. The next thing I'm going to talk about real quick is the cultural inspiration for this picture. The kind of design would look to be an inspiration from ancient Egypt or the Aztecs. However, obviously this is only applying to the pyramid, the foreground, and these female statues here. My friend Brad actually sent me a picture. I'm going to have this here, and again you can see a similarity between the line patterns on this hand and the line patterns just throughout the pyramid ship and also in this picture. And as we were kind of digging, we actually ended up discovering, I'm just going to rotate this for myself, but you should do it by itself for you. Over here we have a series of hieroglyphics. Now I have done my very best to translate these hieroglyphics. We brought up the hieroglyphic alphabet. Some of these symbols do in fact match, by the way. I even sent these symbols to an Egyptian friend of mine. He must have been illiterate or something because he wasn't able to tell me what it meant, so I do apologize to you on his behalf. But ultimately, what does this mean? It means that either the artist used ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics for this picture, or these symbols were designed with the hieroglyphics in mind. Now this is the part where we step away from just the picture and the lore and all that, and we look at the artist. The artist who made this picture is Mark Kolobayev. I hope I didn't butcher that name pronunciation. If we go to his website, you can see that he has a portfolio of all the Destiny art he has ever made. However, once you scroll down, it becomes really interesting because you can see that he has the majority of his pictures locked. He is the only concept artist to ever lock pictures once released, or to release pictures in a locked state. And I have spent full nights going through the portfolios of artists that have worked for Bungie in the past and the present. I've gone through their Destiny stuff, their non-Destiny stuff. Mr. Kolobayev is the only man to ever do this. What's also very interesting when you look at the ancient Egyptian inspiration behind this picture is the fact that when you look at Mr. Kolobayev's work, this guy has a serious thing for ancient Egyptian civilizations. These pictures that I'm putting up now, these are all done by him. These are all done by him. It's very interesting. Even this kind of neon green city, which is also kind of used in this picture, well, the inspiration for it is used in this picture here. Again, this was done by him. So very clearly, it seems that this civilization was inspired by ancient Egypt. When you take this in mind, you take the locked pictures, you take the pyramids in the background, you take the statues here, and then you look at Shadowkeep. What this should tell you is that this isn't just concept art that was used. This is something that is still being used, even now. And I wouldn't be surprised if the artist is actually still working for Bungie at the moment. Okay, so we've talked about the history of this picture, the relationship between the artist and the culture that this civilization is so inspired by. Now we're going to go back to the game and the lore, and now we're going to talk about why I believe this race are human. During the Golden Age, on the moon, a team of Chinese miners were there doing experiments in mining and whatnot. And according to the K1 Revelation lore book, I do believe, the link is in the description below, they came across a mysterious monument that was unfortunately destroyed by their equipment, and a black version of the relic we received at the end of Shadowkeep. Now, the relic caused anyone near it to experience hallucinations and nightmares and stuff like that. And eventually, when Clovis Bray found out about it, they took it and they hid it inside of the container that is inside the Anomaly Crucible map. However, what the Moon team did manage to discover during this time, before it was taken away from them, was that this device was a communication device. They didn't know what kind of communication device it was, so audio, video, radio, stuff like that, but they knew that it was transmitting to something on the edge of the system. Now, why was this important to them? Well, during the Golden Age, everyone pretty much worshipped the Traveler. It was a global cult, and these people were no exception. And so they believed that it was communicating with the home world of the Traveler. And so fanatically, they wanted to, learn the truth and spread it to everybody back home. They used the data that they had managed to collect, and they created a replica relic. They used this relic, and eventually their captain meditated using her experience with Tibetan monks and was consumed by it. Now, what does this have to do with my theory? Well, I asked myself a simple question. If a pyramid relic was found during the Golden Age, deep within the moon, and I know that the pyramids and their technology wasn't made by the Winnower, but by the race that controls the pyramids, then doesn't that mean that centuries, if not thousands of years before the collapse, this race, so inspired by ancient Egypt, was on the moon? This question, it's not even speculation or theory, it's just a fact. I've broken down why the pyramid ships and the darkness are not the same. I've broken down the heavily inspired origins of this race, being the ancient Egyptian civilization, and it's just a fact that they would have made this relic and anything else on the moon that was discovered. Which means, thousands of years potentially before the collapse, you had a race there that was really inspired by ancient Egypt, a race that has been in communication with the traveler because of the monument here, a race that builds statues with human faces on them. It just doesn't, there's no other explanation that makes any sense. Just off the top of my head, there is only one possible, there's nothing, there's actually nothing. I was going to say they could be from a different dimension, but this is the whole reason why they're interested in the Vex, because they want to actually get access to other dimensions, which is why in the lore in this season, Asher Mir is trying to stop them from getting into the Pyramidion. There is no other explanation for this. The Pyramid race were at one stage human. This is just a fact. No, I'm not saying they're going to look like normal humans. Again, if we go to this picture here, as you can see, they've probably been twisted and deformed, even from something as simple as their, say, the environment that they've lived in over this time. I'm not saying that they look exactly like us, but what I am saying is that it's pretty much guaranteed without a doubt that their origin is Earth. Now, the next thing we're going to be breaking down is, I guess, this pantheon that I've mentioned, these original guardians. And this is where it gets very interesting and a little bit more into the speculation side of things. And we're going to begin by looking at this symbol here. Now, when I first saw this, my belief was that it was a snake eye. And I had a few minor theories about it. I was looking into Ahamkara and stuff like that. However, and this is where it gets very interesting. When I discovered the Egyptian hieroglyphics in the picture, and I looked at other things in this picture, I began to realize very clearly that this picture was designed not just as concept art, it was designed as almost like a Where's Wally. It looks like just like a picture with a scenario going on, but there's a lot of really hidden clues baked into here that no one has ever found. And I'm 100% certain that I am the only person in this world that did not work on this picture that sees the things in this picture. And that's just I'm saying that. So we're going to begin by looking at these three statues here. I think there's four, but you can only see three, obviously. If you look at the statue on the right, if we edit it and change it, you can see that it's actually the head of a snake. You can see the eye and you can see the mouth. Without a doubt, it's a snake. Look at the middle statue. If we rotate it and change it again, you can see that it's not just a figure with a body. It's some kind of figure, but it's being devoured by a crocodile. We can see the jaws, we can see the eye, and we can see the arch of the eyebrow. Again, the statue on the left, it's not as obvious or clear, but I'm relatively confident it's a repeat of the snake on the right, due to the kind of tail sticking up. Now, here's an interesting thing. We have a snake eye, and we have a snake in this picture, but it's not the only snake in this picture. I'm going to quickly just kind of have like a snap of all the snakes that I have found in this picture. I'm going to give it a few seconds. Okay, there you go. There's also some crocodiles, but they're really hard to see, so I'm not going to show those. Here's another thing. There's a lot of snakes in Destiny lore, and in-game as well, in-game. I'm going to quickly just have another snap of all the snakes in-game. Okay, so there's a lot of snakes. What does this mean? Well, you'll be very interested in hearing what I discovered when I googled an ancient Egyptian god of darkness. I just was like, I just wanted to give it a go, so I typed it up and I found this page here. Apophis is an evil god worshipped in the ancient Egyptian religion, the deification of darkness and chaos. The Egyptian legend of Apophis derives from ancient Egyptian mythology and is known for emerging from the great void at the beginning of the world. Sometimes the apophysis is depicted as a snake with a human head, sometimes just as a large serpent or crocodile. The Egyptians often told elaborate tales with their art, picturing apophysis with the head of a man. This snake lives in the deep Nile and symbolizes all the dark features of existence, such as death, the cold night, chaos, and storms. Ra was the solar entity, bringer of light. Apophysis was viewed as the greatest enemy of Ra and thus was given the title Enemy of Ra. He is often referred to as the Moon Serpent. And yeah, there's a moon serpent, alright, if we look at this emblem here. And also, there's another emblem called the symbol of the fleet. Its symbol is kind of a crescent moon. I wonder what the fleet is they're talking about. And so immediately we have a correlation between all these snakes and an ancient Egyptian deity called Apophysis, which is the god of darkness and has a lot of things kind of in common. The enemy of the light god. The next thing I'm going to be talking about, again, is there's another part of this passage that I found very interesting. Sometimes Apophysis had assistance from other demons named Second Moat. Okay, so immediately my mindset here was, okay, I found Apophysis and already there are some really interesting similarities between what I've discovered and what's here. I need to look into Second Moat. Sek or Sekhmet, the name translate into mighty or powerful. And Mot is a Canaan god of death, worshipped by the Hebrews. However, I am aware that the Hebrews arrived in Canaan from Egypt, and that they brought a lot of traditions and gods over from there. So again, you could technically say that Mot is somewhat Egyptian. Mot, as far as I'm aware, is not in this picture, but I do believe Sekhmet is in this picture, and she is these female statues here. Sekhmet was said to have a sun disk and also special necklace. And as you can see, she has the disc behind her there, and she also has the necklaces. The only thing that is not 100% Sekhmet about this statue is that Sekhmet has the head of a lion. But as we'll get into, the lion is still very significant. So we have three gods. We have Apophysis, Sekhmet, and Mot. Actually, I'm just skimming through the thing. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're listening to these gods and all that or the other, you're probably going to be really confused, and I 100% get that. I'm watering down a massive document for you. So before I give an explanation for that, I want to say something real quick. Am I saying that these entities in-game would be the actual Egyptian gods? No, they're not. This is inspiration. And they might not even have the names Apophysis, Sekhmet, and all that. However, if you look at Osiris, he has his name, and as we'll get into later, he very well could have mysterious origins as well. The next thing we're going to look at is, in the lore, is there any other example of a human worshipped god? We do. It's Nezarec. Nezarec is something that has been an anomaly and a great mystery in Destiny lore. However, I do believe I have cracked the code. The description, I've read it out so many times trying to make this video, I'm just not bothered. I'm just going to have it on the text here. Basically, it's designed to be vague, it's wishy-washy, it's like I like to say, it's as if Nezarec had a hype man, and then even after Nezarec died, he kept on hyping. That's basically what this is. However, we do gather some very important information from this. The description is based off of a text known as Of Hated Nezarec, and the text is said to be a pre-Golden Age text. Now, pre-Golden Age obviously means pre-Golden Age. However, if you look at the language used, it's very ancient, or at least it's designed to look ancient. Here's the thing. Like I said, it's wishy-washy. The one thing, though, that is just taken for granted is the fact that Nezarec can come back to life. Even though he has multiple tombs, as the Season of the Drifter kindly showed us. So this is what we get. When we look at the description and all the lore concerning Nezarec, this is what we get. Nezarec is just a dude, but he's a dude who was worshipped by other dudes, and he has the capability to come back to life. Also, another thing I want to say real quick is that in the world of Destiny, there are no real religions or gods. Everything is false, purely because we know how the universe was created, and that would be the gardener and the winnower. So any religion is false because most religions do relate the creation of the world to the power of their god. And obviously, if we know how the universe was created, then technically any god that would be the winner and the gardener, which means Nezarec was human. If it's a pre-Golden Age text and the text originated from Earth, and if we're looking at a guy that has the ability to come back to life, then not only was he only ever worshipped by humans, but he is a human himself. We're looking at a human with the ability to come back to life. And very clearly, there's only one thing that can mean. Nezarec was a risen. What are risen? Risen are the Guardians. Anyone that plays Destiny, which I'm assuming most of you do, you are a risen first and a guardian second. Being risen, it's a state of being. Guardian is a profession. We've had many different types of risen throughout the years. We've had Iron Lords, Warlords, Iron Wolves, the Pacifists under Lady Ephrodite, the Dredgens, the Sunbreakers, you name it. And then there's the Guardians. I believe Nezarec was just a risen. However, not just any risen, I believe he was part of this original pantheon. So now I'm going to just give you the full picture here. Around the time that during or after the Hive were taking the gift mast, the gardener entered our system, and she went to Earth. She picked the ancient Egyptian civilization, only the ancient Egyptian civilization, and she gave them a golden age. Now, why only one civilization? Like I said at the very start of this video, it was a beta test. If you look at the Books of Sorrow, and you look at particularly the creation of the Hive and the early conquests of the Hive, up until after the gift mass was taken, I would say. Once the Hive were created, they started a new front in the war between the Winnower and the Gardener, and this new front basically was a never-ending backpedal for the Gardener. No matter what she did, no matter what race she hid behind, the Hive and the Winnower were always able to smash through it. Didn't matter what kind of golden age she would give them. You had some golden ages, she would just empower the race, give them long lives and stuff like that. So we had some races like the Fallen where she gave them, new technology, and using the gift mass as an example, gave them technology, the same technology as the Traveler. It didn't matter. They lost either way. So she took this civilization on Earth, and apart from just giving them, I guess, a normal golden age, I guess you could say, what she did was she tried giving her light. So she took a handful of individuals, I don't know how many, could be, 10, 20, the minimum could be 5. I have a sneaking suspicion it's 5, but I don't know. And she gave them her light. Now, I do not believe they have ghosts. The reason why I don't believe they had ghosts is because Nezarec can come back to life, and he definitely doesn't have a ghost anymore. That's that. If Nezarec is anything to go by, someone, which I do believe is Nezarec, I believe he did something, I don't know what it is, and it was so bad that it basically convinced the Gardener that she had made a really big mistake in doing this, and so she destroyed him in a way that prevented him from coming back. And then she ditched them. I believe that potentially there may have been a small civil war in between these risen gods, but ultimately I do believe Apophis united them. Why do I say Apophis? Well, all the research that I've done, it seems that Apophis gets the most representation in the Destiny lore, under my theory, which just automatically would mean that he is the leader. Also, just if you're looking at the lore of Apophis in ancient Egyptian culture, you have that he is the greatest enemy of the sun god Ra, the bringer of light. I do believe that Ra probably was the Gardener, and that, you had the Traveler being like the sun, the bringer of light. I do believe either Apophis was always the greatest enemy, and Nezarec was his henchman, or Nezarec was the enemy, and then once he died, Apophis took his place. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm doing my best to be short, but I'm rambling. There's a part of this that I'm actually going to save for a different video that I could say now, but it's whatever. But the final thing I want to talk about is how 3 of these gods were used as templates. If we look at the Guardians, we look at the 3 classes that they have: Hunter, Titan, Warlock. They all have their symbols. Now, you see these symbols, you know these symbols, you've seen these all the time. However, what people kind of brush over and they don't even mention is that when Destiny 2 came out, Bungie added something to these symbols, being the animals. The Titans got the lion, the Hunters got the snake, and the Warlocks got the bird. I don't think this is any coincidence. I believe Hunters were inspired by the traits and capabilities of Apophis. I believe that the mighty lion was inspired by the abilities and the traits of Segment. And I personally do believe that the Warlocks were inspired or used, from the template of Osiris. I'm going to explain Osiris. Osiris is a very interesting character in that it seems as though its purpose has been changed by Bungie. Osiris was supposed to be in the original Destiny 1 and then was cut out of it. However, from a screenshot that I'll have here, it's clear he was originally an awoken male. However, in the Curse of Osiris Bungie reveal stream, they specifically said that they wanted a Middle Eastern voice actor, and as we can see here, he's Middle Eastern looking. His ghost name is Arabic. He wears nothing that would be normal for a warlock. He's got a bird kind of crown on him, and his name was Osiris. And he is also specifically stated by Bungie to be the greatest warlock that ever lived. Also, if you look at his personality, and then you look at the traits, the mental traits of warlocks, he is literally every single warlock. He seeks the greater knowledge. Except here's the thing, this is what I believe. Warlocks seek the greater knowledge because that's just what warlocks are like. Osiris seeks the greater knowledge because he is a shell of what he once was, and he subconsciously knows that, and so he's desperately trying to remember who he was. My personal belief, and again, you don't have to believe this, but I'm saying this with a lot of research backing me up. I believe that Osiris was once an Eldritch god. That's what I'm going to call them. I believe that the Pyramid race are called the Eldritch race. This is my term for them. And I guess the Risen were the Eldritch gods. And I believe Osiris was one of them. Interestingly enough, in the Egyptian lore, Osiris was murdered by his brother Set. And in order to keep him from coming back to life, Set actually split his body into different places. Similar to what happened in Nezarec. I think that after the collapse happened, Osiris was chosen by a ghost to become a guardian, and obviously his memories were taken away. And so this is what we have. We have a guardian, Osiris, who has his name and nothing else, but he is still something more. The final thing I want to talk about is the limitations of guardians, and how it's purposefully designed and not just the way they are. I already said that I don't believe that the ancient Egyptian gods had ghosts, and I believe that we have ghosts for a specific reason, and it's because of them. So as you can see, once the gardener made a mistake, and she, destroyed Nezarec, he can it's stated that he can come back, and I do believe that is what the goal of the pyramid is, to get the gardener and force her to bring him back. Why, I don't know. However, even though she destroyed him, very clearly if he can come back, he's still a pain. Now, look at us. When the gardener made us, she had just basically admitted defeat during the collapse, at the end of the collapse, and she shut down the Traveler. Meaning, if we started doing crazy things, like really just monumentally terrible things, the gardener / Traveler wouldn't be in a place to stop us. So what she did was she gave us free will, but she wiped our memories, so we didn't have any moral compass at all, or allegiances, and also she gave us the ghosts. Now here's the thing with the ghosts. We don't have the light. The ghosts don't have the light. The ghosts get the light from the Traveler, and then the ghosts give the light to us. If we misbehave too greatly, such as Dredge and Yor, the ghosts will ditch us, and we'll either lose our power, or if we die, we won't come back. And if we're stupid enough, or our ghosts are stupid enough so that they're destroyed, we lose our light and we don't come back. Meaning, if basically we prove to be a great annoyance to the Traveler, we can be properly destroyed. That is what I believe we are. So I'm just going to summarize things very quickly here. I believe that the race inside the pyramids were once human. They originated from the ancient, by the way, if you hear, that's my fridge, sorry. They originated from the ancient Egyptian civilization that was given a golden age by the gardener 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. Apart from just giving the civilization a golden age, the Traveler took a handful of individuals, turned them into the first light bearers, and these were worshipped by gods along with the gardener. One of them, Nezarec, did something so bad that the gardener realized that she made an oopsie, and so she destroyed him and left. However, the remaining gods either fought amongst themselves or all agreed to unite under Apophis, or the god inspired by Apophis, and so they left with their followers to hunt down the traveler. Either they lost the trail of the gardener, and they gave up, and so they settled in this city. When the moon team, using the relic on the moon, unwittingly contacted them, they basically managed to figure out that the traveler was there, and so they left to go to Earth. At the same time, they contacted the Winnower. The Winnower is, as I explained in my other video, he has his own motivations for wanting to take down the gardener. Collapse happens, end of collapse, travelers defeated, the Winnower leaves, and the pyramids leave. The guardians are created. Once the gardener or the traveler wakes up, the pyramids are immediately awakened because those inside the pyramids are light sensitive, and so they woke up when they felt the light. The pyramids are on their way, and now after Shadowkeep, the Winnower is on his way. I'm going to talk about Beyond Light in a different video, but that is basically what I have to say. If you're really confused by this, I do apologize. I really do. I didn't use the script for 90% of this video. I'll try and use timestamps to make things as easy as possible. Again, if you want the full context, watch all the videos, and if you want to read the script, I will have a link to my Storyfire in the description below. Get the app, and then you can read it. Okay, thank you.